Good evening. I am Cecilia Simon. I'm a member of the NCBW Dallas Metropolitan Chapter, and tonight I will be your program host. I would like to welcome you to the Unhoused, Unheard, the Crisis of Black Women and Homelessness in America. This session explores the systemic, economic, and social forces driving housing instability among Black women and highlights strategic strategies communities can use to reduce homelessness and strengthen housing security. This is an opportunity to learn, to reflect, and to strengthen our commitment to supporting survivors and promoting justice in our communities. Thank you for taking the time to be here today for a program focused on an issue that touches individual families, communities across the country. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women Dallas Metropolitan Chapter has long been committed to making sure our voices are not only heard, but respected and counted. Leading the charge is a woman whose vision and dedication continue to elevate this chapter and communities we serve. Please join me in welcoming President of NCBW Dallas Metropolitan Chapter, Dr. Katrina Pullum.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Unhoused, Unheard, the Crisis of Black Women in Homelessness in America. I am Dr. Katrina Pullum, President of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated, Dallas Metropolitan Chapter. And I want to thank you for being here because this conversation requires courage, compassion, and a commitment to truth. So tonight we are naming something that too often goes unseen. Black women are experiencing homelessness at an alarming rate, and their stories are frequently overlooked, misunderstood, or ignored. So for those who may be new to our organization, the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated is a national nonpartisan advocacy organization committed to improving the lives of Black women and girls through leadership development, education, economic empowerment, health awareness, and public policy and civic engagement. Our vision is a world where women and girls of color are equipped, protected, and empowered to achieve the fullest potential, unrestricted by inequity and strengthened by community support and informed advocacy. So tonight we will explore the realities behind homelessness for Black women, how it intersects with wage gaps, housing discrimination, domestic violence, childcare access, healthcare equities, and trauma-informed support, policy reform, and partnerships that create real pathways to stability. I encourage you to approach this webinar with an open heart and an activated mind. Take notes, ask questions, think about how your fear of influence your workplace, your church, your community, your organizations, your vote can become a part of the solution. Because Black women deserve more than just temporary sympathy, they deserve permanent solutions. Thank you, and please enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Madam President. This program was created with one purpose in mind: to equip participants with insight into economic and social forces behind homelessness and the tools to champion effective, community-based solutions. Through expert insight, the program aims to educate participants, promote community advocacy, and advance social justice by supporting survivors and fostering safer, more equitable environments. Next, I would like to introduce Tanzania Vincent.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Tanzania Vincent, a member of NCBW Dallas Metropolitan Chapter, and I have the distinct honor of introducing our speaker this evening, and that is Sherlita Vincent Best. She is the Community Services Administrator, Housing and Community Development Department for the City of McKinney, Texas. Sherlita is described by colleagues as possessing a diplomatic style, with an approachable personality that draws both clients and colleagues alike. Shirlita brings more than 21 years of municipal service to this conversation. As Community Service Administrator for the City of McKinney, she oversees the Community Development Block Grant Program. She provides community support grant oversight and oversees the Continuum of Care initiatives, programs that directly affect housing stability for thousands of North Texas residents. She's a past national president of the National Community Development Association, NCDA, and a recipient of its highest honor, President's Award, in 2024. Mrs. Bess also helped open the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis and has also served as development director with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Memphis. She is a certified NCDA trainer and a current member of its National Board of Directors. We are so grateful to have her with us. Please join me in welcoming her as a speaker for this evening. Welcome, Shirlita.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I thank the board of directors, all the program directors that have been involved, and of course, Madam President of this great organization. This is a very important topic, a very timely topic. As we talked, the title Unheard, Unhoused, also unsheltered but yet determined. We're going to have a conversation tonight where we're talking about the impact of homelessness, including those that are at risk of homelessness, for families and also Black women as we transition into forging connections and finding those solutions and being able to talk about how these impacts, inequities shape our community. As we talk about the session objectives, want to be able to share with you how that will be able to move forward. We're going to be able to talk tonight about key economic and housing factors that are going to give rise to homelessness and housing instability. Also being able to talk about health and social impacts, recognizing populations that are at the highest risk, and you'll be surprised by what those are, especially not during economic downturns, but also just during regular turn of events. And then we're going to talk about resources and shared opportunities for community impact in terms of policy strategies. But before we move to that, I want to be able to provide you all with a question to see if you're able to answer that question. In doing so, I do want to share this statement with you. We are truly at a crossroads for change. I want to be able to let this sit with you as we move forward in this presentation. It is only one financial impact, only one health crisis, or it could be a personal crisis that will lead a person towards at risk or actually being homeless. It truly is a journey that no one willingly chooses, but all of us may face at some point in our lives, or you may know someone right now, or it may be you. We'll be talking about those experiences, factors and causes, definitions, and to also be able to let you know that there is a ray of hope as we move forward in this process and how we all need to work together for this impact. As we transition, we'll be able to move forward with this question. Black women in the United States are disproportionately affected by homelessness, making over what percentage of the female homeless population? We want to be able to see if you can answer that question. We know generally our Black population is 13%, but see if you can make certain of that requirement. What do you think that guess would be? I'll give you some time for that. Okay, those are continuing to come in. Okay, and so as we close, to be able to look at that, it is 40%. Many of you talked about it being higher at 50% or even 60%. Keeping in mind that these are national statistics, and as we all know, data has a tendency to be old at times, so it's probably a few years old. As we're moving into the current state of the population now, as we see it growing, it probably is now anywhere from 50%, but right now our stats are showing at 40%. Let's talk a little bit about women and what the impacts are for experiencing homelessness as we move forward. What are those disparities? Black women in Dallas, in particular, are disproportionately affected by homelessness. It is systemic in terms of racial, economic factors, also driven by a lack of affordable housing. And that's been going on for many, many years. You may have seen an article recently as April the 21st where KERA was talking about the impact of renters. So many people are renting now more than ever before. And it's not because of low to mod income persons. Many households that have a lot higher income limits, maybe making as much as $100,000 or more, are actually renting as opposed to housing and being in a home. And that could be for a variety of different reasons. It could be because they're experiencing a new job and they're wanting to be able, to say, well, I don't know if I'm going to be staying in the Dallas DFW community, so let me rent for a little while. It could be based on maintenance. But one of the factors that we do know is that those that have higher incomes are renting longer than usual. That is also making changes with those that are low to mod income because of the affordability crisis are not able to move into a home. Those are some of the factors that are really moving forward. And while African Americans make up less than 25% of the entire population, again, for the homeless population, based on recent counts, unequivocally make 54% of the entire homeless population. And that is very much a staggering statistic. Let's talk about the definitions now of what homelessness is. Many people may not realize that there are actually two different factors when it comes to definitions of homelessness. There is homelessness by definition of HUD, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, where a person may be literally homeless, on the street, may be hidden. They are at risk of homelessness. Also, other statistics in terms of factors, maybe they're fleeing from a situation. It could be domestic violence. It could be, and when we're talking about domestic violence, it may not be woman to man. It may be male to female. It may be a youth, a young person that is fleeing from homelessness. There are a variety of different factors. It could also be a senior a person who has lost her husband, not being able to keep up with the property, and as a result, ending up being homelessness. Then you also have the McKinney-Vento Homeless Act, which is under the U.S. Department of Education. Many of you may know of a student who is experiencing homelessness. In order to be able to have the best care of services under the public school districts as we move forward, we have students that are also able to be defined as homeless, and that may be a student that is couch surfing with their friends or family. It could be that they're sleeping in a hotel. But the bottom line is that they don't have that permanent place to be able to call their own. All of those factors moving forward into, again, what we know as housing instability. As we move into the next slide, we'll be talking a little bit about some of those factors. And so at this time, many of you know some of the factors. You may work in the nonprofit sector. You may experience those as you're working with even your own family members. So right now, if you would just kind of type in the chat and talk about what you think are the factors that may lead to homelessness, and we'll give you some time to do that. Okay, so as they're coming in, I see no income, loss of job, definitely domestic violence. So many factors, drug abuse, loss of job, illness. Mental health is definitely coming in quite a bit. I'll give you all some more time to be able to do this. And I love this information. So Tiffany Jackson is saying inflation. We all know that those are definitely increasing. We're experiencing, gas prices increasing, so many different things. So Bobby Howard, I just want to shout out to her. She is saying lack of financial education. That is also a definite factor that we don't hear about or see very often. Okay, give you a few more minutes. All right, and so we're going to move on to the next slide, but I do wish if you would like to continue to go ahead and put your comments in the chat. But many of you touched on those factors as common factors and not so common factors when we're talking about homelessness, domestic violence, trauma. It can be, just a variety of different things that can lead a person to flee and ending up being in a situation of homelessness. If a house or rent is just continuing to increase and they're not able to have their wages increase along with that. Again, inflation, that is also a factor. Affordability, the risk of eviction. Maybe a person is staying in a affordable apartment and then the transition of a landlord comes in. Maybe rent might increase by $100 or even $200. That may seem small to others, but it could be something that could send a person right over the edge. Health factors, that is very much a key. If a person is unable to work, if they're sick, if they're a caretaker and they need to have someone, where they're losing income in order to take care of a friend or a loved one, all of those different factors, especially if they come tumbling into a parade of being at the same time, all of those factors can lead a person to being homeless. Many of our women are at the risk, at the verge, and just trying to make it just on a week to week, month to month basis, making certain that you don't know when that crisis is going to happen, but when it hits, it just becomes just, that factor that will send you right over the edge. Systemic factors and also policy changes that also takes place as well. Policy changes could be not only federal, but it also could be impacting state requirements. Those changes also can be very subtle, but over time can also impact a person of being at risk for homelessness. And then certainly mental health. All of the things that Black women have to go through, all of the things that we do in order to keep our families afloat. Many of us know that we are the ones pushing and being able to move forward with our families, taking care of extended families. Many of us may be in our mid, ages where we're taking care of not only our family, but also our grandparents, also taking care of our parents, and just really trying to hold all of those things together. And if you're, like many of us, including myself, we're the last person that we're taking care of. And so just even the sheer process of trying to organize and keep all of that together, we are running into health factors ourselves. And we can also create mental stressors, unintentionally being able to move forward. All of those things could, if we miss a payment, if we miss something critical, could lead you into that cycle of homelessness. So there's another question that we're going to ask as we move forward. What are some of the most significant impacts of homelessness on individuals and families beyond the loss of housing? Because it's not just about housing. In terms of that, What do you think that might actually be? One of the most significant impacts could definitely be just the sheer loss of community, right? Exactly. Connectivity, not being stable. So just keep those chats coming. Absolutely. Oh, I love this. Isolation, definitely. The shame. The shame of just, I'm supposed to keep this together. Why is this happening to me? Depression. Very good. Yes, Cecilia. Absolutely. All of those factors, and you can continue to include that in the chat, but definitely all of those significant impacts. It is the shame, it is the depression, it is trying to figure out where will you be able to go, because again, if we're talking about homelessness, where will you be able to afford? And just the sheer factor, absolutely, to Amanda, just the sheer fact of having to start all over again. We're creatures of habit. We do understand change, but homelessness, it's huge because you don't know where to turn. Maybe you don't know about the resources. You may know about the resources, but really understanding the connectiveness of how to be able to move forward and being able to try to, again, not just your impact, but holding your family's mental health if you're not just an individual by yourself. There's so many different significant impacts that tumble. And it's not just for the session, it's not just for that moment in time, but the impact of what that would be for depression, for starting over, all through the years of you trying to rebuild again. Those are all things that continue. And of course, you never forget that moment. Many of us have experienced being at risk of saying, okay, you know what, that bill is not being paid, or I don't know how I'm going to be able to get through. We're praying about it and we're trying to figure out how we're going to move along. But to be in that state where you're having to live in your car, the impact that you may actually be on the street. You might be going to work every single day, moving forward as you always do with a smile on your face, and you're leading organizations, but knowing that after those hours, you have to figure out what is next. Those are some significant impacts. So as we transition and we're talking about facts and statistics, I want to share a little bit with you about some of those. We had already mentioned about the population, that we're about 13 to 14% of the entire US population. But again, as we know from our previous conversation, Black women predominantly are the ones impacted by this. But we also know that if we have children, significantly impact. That shame is even more. How was it caused? What are we going to do? The psychological factors, the safety factors, how is that going to impact our children, not just at school, but how the interaction will be with their family? Some of those other factors that are driving is also single family incomes. Many of us, when we're talking about at risk, we're talking about being reliant on two income households. What happens when that one income goes away completely, or if it's reduced? How will we be able to transition? How will we be able to keep up with the mortgage? All of those things, financial, could lead to other stress factors, could lead to domestic violence. Again, the depression, as many people had talked about. And then just the sheer challenge of trying to get to the American dream, as we call it, of being able to move from a starter house to, a nicer home, or just the sheer fact of having just a home on your own, right? Of being able to say that I own as opposed to rent. Because one thing we do know, rent continues to increase. One of those articles I had talked about earlier shows that in the city of Dallas, 58% again of renters versus home ownership. And we're seeing that not only in the Dallas County area, but even in our suburban communities. We're looking at studio apartments that are, not just under not just under $1,000, but many are paying $2,000 a month for a studio apartment. In suburban communities, a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment that could have been 1,300 back in 2010, several years ago, or even just before the pandemic, are now being increased to where they are $3,000 a month for a 2 or 3 bedroom home. How would you be able to afford that? Could you be able to afford that? And yes, we know that the state of Texas and, definitely in our communities, we are affordable. If you're coming from another community, another state, the affordability factor might be there. And for the most part, we live in a great affordable area in the DFW community. But again, one factor can make all of those changes happen. So let's talk about another question. How would you describe the current landscape of homelessness in today's economic environment? We know about food prices, gas prices certainly going up. What trends are you seeing that are different from, again, either 5 or about 10 years ago? So I'll give you some time to be able to include your comments in the chat. Definitely the cost of food and gas. Evictions are much higher. We're seeing that quite a bit. Younger populations still working and yet still homeless. The wages are just not matching up. Just increases, absolutely, Kimberly, cost of living increases. Oh yes, people are buying homes at a much older age, 40, 50, even 60. The lack of federal funding or even county funding, absolutely, that we are not able to have that rental assistance. Very good points. Daycare prices and affordability overall. Thank you so much. And just continue to talk in the chat. If you have children and you have ever had to pay childcare, you already know that is very, very difficult. And just the overall lack of employment opportunities. So many of you are giving just such great responses, and it's definitely so true. It is very different also from the pandemic, even what now 5 or 6 years ago, when there was funding opportunities that we have never seen in the world or in the United States, where there were grants that were able to give you rental assistance, even mortgage assistance, even food assistance for those opportunities, because we were in such a unique crisis. All of those opportunities either dissipated completely or they were significantly reduced. And if a person is on Section 8, which is known as the housing choice vouchers that we have, the wait list is just tremendous, definitely for many, many years. And in the meantime, what does a woman do? What does the family do? Education, also, as someone had mentioned, is also extremely high. And how are you able, in fact, to manage and to be able to factor that along, to be able to increase? And then when you finally get that degree, will it still bring the type of economic impact that you need in order to be able to move to a higher level? All of those factors, all of those things are the landscape that we're all experiencing at the same time. And we're all trying to navigate that. We're all trying to figure out, not in the terms of, are we, going into homelessness, but just the management of life, just the day-to-day factors. So I will always tell our residents that we serve in the city of McKinney, and as we assist people in the Collin County area where I am, that all of us are at risk because we're having to navigate and to be able to adjust to ebb and flow as we need to. But for some of us, the risk is so much higher, and again, leading into homelessness. I will say that under the U.S. Department of Housing and Community Development, of which the city of McKinney has a grant, and many other cities across the DFW area and throughout our community, over 1,600 municipalities are able to receive funds under the Community Development Block Grant. And as we talk about the next slide, one of the factors that we have is that we have what is called a point in time count. Now we know, and you probably have seen many people that are homeless in terms of street. You've seen them maybe in shelters, or you may know of someone that is in a shelter. It may be a women's community type of shelter, or they may be hidden. We have an opportunity annually in the last Thursday of each January where we have what is known as a PIT count, which is a point in time count. And it is a count of a sample of sheltered and unsheltered persons so that we can at least have a determination of population, of age, of race and ethnicity to be able to let HUD know here's where we need to have federal funding and where that best need should lie in our own communities. That includes transitional housing. It includes safe havens. Again, it's on just that single night. Hundreds of thousands of people all across the country are able to participate in that of their choice. And they provide, again, just great information and data. But it also gives us a chance to be able, as a community, to provide a meal, to have many sororities and fraternities to be able to create care bags, but to also hear those stories. And that also factors in an opportunity for encouragement to be able to move forward. So not only does it provide data on that night, but it also provides comfort and care, and to be able to also remind ourselves that we have so much more to do. So I want to share with you some of the data that we had just in the point of time and count from January of 2025. That is the most recent. And that is where the factors that I had given you earlier, where I talked about, just over 40%, like overall. But in just 2025 alone, 57% of persons that were experiencing homelessness in that one single night were Black. You see on the scale, the chart that we have here, that you had persons who were multiracial, 3%. Those that were white, 25%. But the highest number that you see on that chart is 57%. And again, this is also information that we are able to use as a grantee. We provide that information to HUD, and they're able to give us the opportunity to use those funds for homelessness prevention, whether that is rental assistance, emergency assistance, transitional housing. There is an organization called Housing Forward that is able to help both the Dallas and Collin counties to distribute that money to nonprofit organizations and also the cities to be able to meet people at the point of where they are. As we continue with the next slide, as you see this chart, again, where we're talking about sheltered as well as unsheltered, this is giving you an overview of what we had seen that night in both Dallas and Collin County. We looked at emergency shelters, transitional housing, safe haven locations, and many of you may know the safe haven locations. It could be a QT gas station in your neighborhood. It could be your local fire station. Those are some examples of safe havens. And then also just persons on the street. So those are opportunities where the most recent data that we have captured that was reported by Housing Forward was in 2025. Now we had a count just recently, of course, now we're in 2026. And so that count was taken in January. And so as we, with other nonprofit organizations and the organization Housing Forward, we are going to be releasing the data for the 2026 count, and that will take place next month. And so I'll be able to let you know more about that and how you can hear that report and how you'll be able to also attend the session if you would like to do that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in our resources. So let's talk about something that we don't normally talk about, which is hidden homelessness. What do you think hidden homelessness looks like? In the chat, You could also answer the question, do you know of anyone that is hidden homeless? What would be some of those examples? I'll give you one. You have that grandson, you have that niece and their family on your couch staying with you. Absolutely. Staying with a relative. Now, staying with a relative, a visit, or 6 months later. Living in motels. Absolutely living in vehicles. Multiple families sharing one location. Thank you, Michelle. Absolutely. Just in general, people who don't have stable housing. All good questions. Hidden homelessness, that's also very difficult to count. I had shown you examples of what we had seen when we're talking about official data, just a sample that we're able to capture. But we have so many students. Maybe something happened with their parents, and maybe at age 16 or 17, the parents decide, you know what, it's time for you to go, and they kick their children out. And where does that child go? The shame that we were talking about, the depression, they could be on the streets, but there may be a family friend that takes that child in. Example of hidden homelessness. So many hotels and motels have families who, again, were not able to have stable housing. They are also hidden. And we're not just talking about extended stay type of hotels, but just your regular hotels. And it could be anything from, again, a motel to a luxury hotel. And oftentimes it's not about relocation. It is about making certain that they're not in the street and that they're not in their cars. Many people don't realize either that a person is staying in their car. Many of you have seen the movie with Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happiness. Going to work, then having to go, somewhere else to be able to take care of just basic needs. All of those are examples definitely of, again, hidden homelessness. And it's something that is continuing to grow and trying to be able to address. In our communities, and you've probably seen this too, you may see a lot of cars in the neighborhoods, but then they leave during the day. So we have those situations that do take place, and many people don't think about it being, homelessness because it might be a temporary situation. And it also creates stress. That person may be trying to find their own place. They may be trying to find those jobs, or maybe all of the factors that we talked about earlier in tonight's session. All of those things are also creating stress and depression, but they are also trying to get that ideal situation of being able to have their own roof over their head. But the bottom line, rising cost, economic factors, instability, wage gaps, childcare issues, all of those things are going to be definitely a factor. I definitely want to share this quote that you see here before you that said most homeless kids are on the street because they have been forced by circumstances that have caused them to think that they are safer there than any home that they once knew. So many children, that is definitely increasing in terms of homelessness. And it's very difficult because as an adult, we might be able to navigate and to find our way. But as a child, where would you go? As a 17-year-old, you're not quite an adult, but you're not quite a minor. You're in that odd space. This is starting to increase as well. So as we transition to our next opportunities for those solutions and also for those that are at risk, we want to be able to talk about approaches to increase affordable housing. And we are seeing amazing things throughout Collin County as well as through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Increased education opportunities, community support, and advocacy. One of the things that we know, especially in the Black community, especially among Black women, we know how to make things turn. We know that we have to be creative and constantly finding solutions. And every time that there is an opportunity for crisis, there is also opportunity to reinvent, to be creative, and to continue to take care and to navigate within our families and our communities. So we'll talk about that in the next factors. So let's talk about the resolutions. And I want to be able to share this one statement with you that we all can agree on. When it comes to housing, what do we want? Well, if you have children, or just if you just love being in your own space, we definitely want privacy, but we all want safety. We all want affordability. Whether I can afford an apartment or a studio, or whether I can afford an $8 million home, these are all basic needs that we have. We want that economic security. We want those basic needs met. We want a place that we can call our home and to call our own. I want to be able to share with you next some of the things that we've done in the city of McKinney. As it was mentioned earlier, I handle our city's community development block grants, and many of us use our funds to be able to talk about homelessness prevention. But we've also been able to create a lot of different opportunities for residents and to be able to work through that in partnership with our nonprofit organizations. We had a chance to be able to start that through our McKinney Homeless Coalition, and we took a survey. And when we talked about, top conditions to be able to reduce homelessness, I just want to be able to share a little bit of that with you. Again, at the top of the heap is going to be, of course, more affordable housing. There is never going to be enough. And as we talk about affordability, again, at any price point, at any point in my life, whether I'm a student just starting out in my career, whether I'm a young professional, I have family, I'm a senior. I should be able to have a variety of different places that I can live at any point in my life that is going to be affordable, that will work out well for the income in which I have at that time. Of course, better paying employment opportunities, being able to have, again, the mental health care and to be able to reduce uh, the homelessness in terms of factors that will create having those choice vouchers. Someone had mentioned that to be able to have not only more vouchers, but also to be able to reduce those long wait times that we have to wait. Additional training programs. We have a generation that right now we're seeing 4 different generations that are taking place, right? From what is it, Gen Z, millennial, and so many. And each unique group has different needs. But coming alongside us, we are all seeing for the first time a generation that is so reliant on digital, so reliant on factors that they may not know how to transition. They may not know some of the things that maybe our grandparents taught us. And so this is also an opportunity for not only education in terms of academia, but also just that old fashioned determination of education of how you're able to move forward. So these are some of the conditions that were shared in our survey. And we've been able to create a lot of different programs that will meet these needs. And we talk about that in a basic circle of support, as you'll be able to see next. I had mentioned the pursuit of happiness, and I love this quote. Long before I achieved my financial success and before I became the subject of a Hollywood film, what was I? I was a veteran. I was a father, and I was also a working person who just happened to be homeless. I love that quote. I had an opportunity to meet him in person, and the things that he was able to share was just amazing. And he kind of mentioned different things that talks about the circle of support. Many of you already have that. You might call it something different. It might be the board or your group of friends or maybe your family. So these are just talking about those needs. Supportive services, transportation, health, education, those are just some of the factors there. But what I want to be able to share with you now some of the resources that we have, and I'll kind of move through those quickly just to talk about that. You may not know that in the month of April, and I'm so excited that the coalition was able to have this presentation tonight. April is the month of fair housing. Dr. King, this is one of the last acts that he was trying to provide, focusing on economic impact, talking about affordable housing. And this is one of our basic rights of being able to, again, have a place that would be able to serve us in all of these different factors. ending economic impact, also creating those diverse population and communities, also being able, again, to end housing discrimination. Tenants' rights is an ongoing process that we have to be aware of. Some data information that I want to be able to share with you next. We had talked about, again, when is the data coming out for January's point in time count? So that is taking place on May 14th. I have a link there where you'll be able to register for that, or you can contact me to share that information. But we will have the point in time count where we'll talk about what's happening since January and what we're going to be able to do in terms of resources and programs to move the needle forward. I also wanted to share with you some of the great key organizations that I'm aware of or that I'm involved in. Housing Forward, again, is the lead for the factors of that. Our community federal resources that we use, just showing you some of the examples of how we use our funding through the Community Development Block Grant and Home Partnership programs. Also, the next factors that we have when we're talking about partnerships, being able to talk about those use of funds are very important, but also more importantly, partnerships in action, our community. These are just some of the examples that we have in terms of community resources. The Bridge, Shiloh Place, the Dallas Resource List, Hope Restored Systems, being able to have those supportive services through our sororities and fraternities, organizations like this one, our chambers. These are all partnerships in action to be able to help those that are at risk or those that are homeless. As we move forward and we look toward the future, I want to be able to talk about some strategic efforts that are going to help us all move toward success. Again, someone had mentioned earlier in the chat, public education, community economic development, and housing, all of job creation, all of those are going to be able to move the needle forward. It's not any one factor, all of it has to work together. We have to foster home ownership. We have to encourage financial literacy. We have to be able to come up with those creative ways to have job creation, whether that's through entrepreneurship or being able to have certainly more than one stream of income to be able to move forward and to continue that. What is that next impact as we talk when we're talking about future generations? How do we create the impact of wealth and to be able to grow that? There is a wealth loss, and we do know that. How are we able, right, to move that forward? How are we able to help those that have been incarcerated and being able to help them beyond just a basic job? How are we able to move those needles forward? Creating a culture of trust. That is so important. Where do youth and just anyone, where do you turn to be able to find those organizations, those persons that are going to be able to help you along the way for a long-term period of time? Because it's not a short-term solution. How do we bridge the gap of those relationship losses? Community is so important. It's so much more important than ever before. We all need each other. And that is going to also help us. We need to show what that looks like and how we're able to overcome those obstacles. How we're able to overcome is how we're going to be able to help grow and to have a great impact on our future generations. I do want to share something exciting with you. And it's the latest factor as we're talking about being better together. That is really the emphasis for the success of what we have to do. Homelessness can happen to anyone. You have to remember it does require compassion. It requires data, hard work, but it does require all of us for being better together to allow us to be able to move the needle forward. And so I just want to show you some of the guiding principles that we have as McKinney is launching its Better Together initiative. We have just started this process. We encourage you to be a part of it if you'd like to go to our website and to learn more. But it is a great opportunity in this work that we're only just starting, and you get a chance to see some of the guiding principles that we have and some of the things that I talked to you about tonight. Most importantly, we want to be able to eradicate homelessness. We know it's been going on for a long period of time, but each action, each step that we take, we'll be able to do that, not only in our community where I serve, but also in other communities throughout our Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so I just want to thank you all at this time for just giving me a chance to be able to share some of those successes, some of the obstacles that we know about, and to also know that you play a tremendous role in that. And as we talk about struggle to success, we all each have a part to play, whether it's volunteerism, where it's just being kind, but also being able to just give impact and to give those resources. And so I encourage you in the organizations that you have. Hopefully, this session gives you a little bit more information, uh, gives you a chance to have affirmation or confirmation. And I just thank you for being able to allow me to share in this time with you today. And so I thank you very much.
Thank you, Shirlita, for sharing your expertise, your passion, and your knowledge with us. We certainly appreciate all the work that you have done in this space. And I know for myself, and I think I feel safe in speaking for others, we can all see someone we know or someone we knew in that type of situation. And so I am definitely inspired to take our public policy hat and maybe go to Austin and see what we can do to change some things to help make us more successful as an advocacy group, but just responsible community members and sisters supporting sisters. So at this time, we're going to open it up for Q&A, if that's okay with you. We certainly encourage you to raise your hand in the chat. You're welcome to come off of mute. You're also welcome to put comments in the chat box. I did see one that we can launch into, if that's okay. So feel free, ladies and gentlemen, to please share your questions with Ms. Shirlita. And I'm going to go back to one that Amanda has put in our chat just a few moments ago. And it says, what kind of expectations or pressures have been placed on landlords to not make steep increases? So do we have any insight on that? Or has there been anything that encourages them not to do that?
I would say that, as we know in the state of Texas and in other communities, capitalism is at its highest, at its best. And so it does require collaborative efforts. You may have some, owners that are very encouraging where they are creating programs in a rent control type of situation through renewals and also being able to be supportive through programs. We have been successful, and we've also seen this in organizations like Housing Forward, where we're creating incentives for landlords to be able to keep those homes and apartments affordable. We are also working with different organizations and corporations to be able to do that. It is a slow but steady process, but it is moving forward.
Thank you. I do see another one in the chat, and the comment is around questions asked. Let's see. In Georgia, a number of centers use the term unhoused. Is that a term that people are using nationally? And if so, does that maybe create any different types of implicit bias, or does that help with biases?
I would say that it helps. And the reason that I say that is because we all know the term homelessness, but there is a sometimes a connotation that goes along with that in terms of, mentally, who do we think is homeless? But we all can agree and understand what it means to be unhoused because that is personal. We all can understand how that may feel, how that could be impacted, and we may know of someone. And so, in terms of advocacy, we do definitely see a lot of groups that are using unhoused much more, and being able to use that interchangeably is helping in that situation.
Thank you. Any other questions? Again, you can feel free to raise your hand, or you may come off of mute. Okay. Hearing and seeing none. Again, Shirlita, thank you for hosting our Q&A session. I'm going to turn it back over to Cecilia, and thank you again. Cecilia, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. I was saying
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for sharing. I learned a lot tonight. On behalf of President Dr. Katrina Pullum, First Vice President Keisha Dillard, Public Policy and Civic Engagement Chair Audrina Graham, Co-Chair Lysandra Hicks, and the entire committee, once again, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Shalita this evening. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your expertise, and your passion with us. We are truly grateful for your time and commitment to this important work. We love to hear your thoughts. If you like, let's see, go to next one. We would love to hear your thoughts. Please take a moment to scan the QR code to complete a short survey. Your feedback truly helps us make the programs even better. Okay, give you guys some time to pull up the QR code. It is now my pleasure to introduce the first Vice President of the National Coalition for 100 Black Women, Dallas Metropolitan Chapter, Keisha Dillard. Keisha has been an incredible leader and champion for our mission, and we are grateful to have her with us this evening. She will share our closing remarks and highlight for the few upcoming programs that we truly hope you'll join us for. So please help me welcome Madam First President Keisha Dillard.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. As we come to a close, I sincerely want to thank each of you again for participating in this very thoughtful and needed conversation. Your presence matters. So thank you it truly matters. So thank you so much for being here. The insights shared tonight remind us that housing instability is not an abstract issue. It affects individuals, families, and communities. As we leave, let's carry forward a commitment to stay informed, to have a deeper understanding of what's going on, and to collaborate, because collaboration leads to real and lasting change, which is definitely what I see happening out here. So thank you so much, Shaletta, for that. I see you making change. Thank you. So last also, we would also like to invite you to stay connected with us. So follow us on our social media and keep an eye out for our upcoming programs because we're always doing programs for the community. We'd love to have you join us again, so stay on the lookout. Also, upcoming events. Okay, we are delighted to announce the NCBW Dallas Derby Day. The NCBW Dallas Derby Day. The Crown and Roses Affair returns on Sunday, May 3rd, 2026 at Lone Star Park. So if you don't have your tickets, please get your tickets. This tradition brings us together in celebration, but its impact reaches far beyond the event. Your support directly funds programs that expand access, open doors, and create meaningful opportunities for Black women and girls, which is what we do. So please click the link in the chat, purchase your ticket. If you haven't already done so, right there in the chat. Okay. We look forward to seeing each of you there. And last, for our last announcement, the NCBW Dallas Metropolitan new member application is now open. So if there are those of you out there who want to join us on this quest, please go and fill out an application, join us. If you're passionate about advocacy, impact, and empowering Black women and girls, we invite you to apply. The deadline is April 25th, 2026. So if you have any questions, please email membership@ncbwdallas.org. Thank you again for joining us this evening. This concludes our program. Thank you.